Folks, I am beyond excited to talk to my guest here today. None of that fake podcast excitement. I'm not that good an actor. No, she is responsible, or at least largely responsible, for one of my favorite comics to come down the pipe in about a year. Let's take a look.
Flow number one. Oh boy. Flow number one is a comic book that's not afraid to go there. You know where I'm talking about. So this story is about a young girl who goes away to camp where she gets her first period. But because she's been homeschooled and hasn't necessarily gotten the right kind of education about what's going on with her body, she becomes susceptible to like manipulation and hazing and bullying from other girls. And naturally, because this is a horror story, said hazing and manipulation has horrific consequences. So this story is clearly designed to play into the uneasiness that people, men in particular, have about, I'm just going to say it, period stuff. And, women's reproductive health in general, I guess. And, I can appreciate the gutsiness that it takes by all parties involved to tell a kind of story like that, because I think the visceral, immediate reaction that a good amount of people are going to have to this is, ew, why would you do that? But I think that's kind of the idea. I think this book is sort of designed to a large extent to make unenlightened dude bros uncomfortable and, push the boundaries of what people are comfortable with and what they normally read about. And that's one of the things that horror stories can do. And I like that sort of thing. I like stories that invite you to expand your mind and your perspective. And certainly Flow is a story that's uniquely suited for the world of indie comics, because I doubt that you'd ever see this from a major comic book publisher, and certainly not a major like TV or motion picture distributor. It is a little bit Carrie-like in terms of the story. We've got a girl who's being hazed and presumably at some point will want to get back at the people that hazed her. The art in this book plays into the horror element really well. This is my favorite panel in the entire book. Your brain kind of goes over it thinking that nothing's wrong, and then it jumps when it sees the girl there. I always appreciate elements of truth in stories like this. And, the tragic truth is that there are a lot of girls and young women around the world who don't have access to proper education about what goes on with their bodies at that age. It's really sad and tragic. And this book very much plays into that and kind of comments on it in its own way. And as the father of two young girls living in a post-Roe v. Wade era, I can very much appreciate that. It takes a lot of guts to do a story like this in the current climate, so I'm here for it.
That's right, and the collected edition of Flow is out. Is it March 9th, Miss Paula? March 10th?
March 10th, yeah.
March 10th, very good. Paula Sevenbergen is here with me. How are you, Miss Paula?
I am great. How are you, Rob?
I am fantastic. I'm thrilled that you were able to lend me some of your time here. Okay, so we just saw the clip of me talking about Flow number one, but can you give us the elevator pitch for Flow as a whole? What's the story about?
It is about a girl who gets her first period at camp, and her bunkmates take advantage of the fact that the girl doesn't know what it is. Dara is her name. She was sheltered, homeschooled, and because she didn't learn about it in school, she is terrified to get this. And so the kids who are bullies basically say, oh, it's called the curse, and we can lift it if you do everything we tell you to do. And so that begins a week of torment for her. And then the book also, it's a dual timeline. So you see the bullies, and I say that in quotes because there are varying degrees of bullies there, but
right.
And then we see 10 years later, and they themselves end up cursed.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It's a like a dual timeline horror type story. I think I've heard you describe it as, is it Carrie meets Yellow Jackets?
That's how I pitched it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's how, and it was definitely inspired by a bit by Carrie.
Okay. Excellent. And I heard that the idea for Flow was, I guess, informed or inspired, not just by, I guess, to an extent, personal experience, but is it a ravine near your home?
Oh, the ravine.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
what
I
kind of
was.
ravine are you living near?
No, I did mention that in another interview. I live in a house now, and I've always lived in these big city apartments that were very small, and so it's being a homeowner is weird and creepy
Yeah.
sometimes, right?
Hmm.
And mine does have a ravine in back with many trees that scare me when there are strong winds and things like that. But there are also there's a little bit of wildlife who wander in there, even though I'm in a metro area. So um, yeah, sometimes I'll be sitting in my living room watching TV, and I'll just see out of the corner of my eye like a deer,
Mm.
in the back. And then one day I was just sitting there, and I would often write in that spot too. And I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and I just saw a girl walking up out of the ravine with like bloody
Oh
hands.
God.
And I thought, oh God, what is that? And then that ended up part of the story later of this story.
Can't imagine how that would have inspired a horror story at all. Jeez Louise. So, okay, talk to me about the original incarnation of the idea. I mean, I'd heard the story was originally called the Curse. The Curse was the title of the original pitch.
That's right. Yeah.
And then,
And then there was a TV
sorry.
show called The Curse. Yeah. So they asked me to change it, and then we landed on Flow.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, but the original idea, I guess, came from that image I just described to you, but also, and I write about this in an essay that's in the trade paperback that's coming out. But I was also just enraged about uh, these politicians who were talking about taking sex ed out of schools and not even talking about menstruation in schools, at least not in elementary school. And, I'm sorry, but girls often start their periods in elementary school.
Hmm.
And whether you're comfortable with that idea or not, that's a fact of life. And the idea that some young girl would not learn about this and then experience it seemed just so wrong to me. And we can't assume every child is talking about this stuff with their parents. We don't know what people's home lives are like. Ideally, yes, they are,
Yeah.
right? But I just couldn't imagine why it wouldn't be talked about in school.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay, because when I read Flow, it struck me that there's such I guess a moralistic dimension to this story, if you want to call it that, because in terms of the transformation that girls' bodies go through, and I mean I've got two young daughters, so I mean I'm kind of invested in what's going on here, kind of. But so that was something that you were mindful from early on in the creative process. I mean, were you trying to sort of have that message, about education and that kind of development?
I guess I guess you could say that to a degree because the feeling, the idea that was inspired by it. I would never try to, you know, impart a moral. At least try not to do so in an obvious or heavy-handed way in a
Right.
story,
Hmm.
because I do think the characters take precedence when you're telling a story and their experience, right? And so if I came in right away saying, we're going to tell everyone that these girls should have been taught this in
Right.
school, it would be very limiting creatively, and it also probably wouldn't end up being something people would want to read or enjoy anyway. So, um, So yeah, I didn't try to impart any moral, but that was definitely there all along.
Okay, so it was on your mind, I guess, as you were writing it and working on it.
Yeah,
And I mean,
yeah.
the public facing aspect of Flow, especially the cover art for that first issue. I mean, it very much played up that the girl gets her first period aspect of the story. I mean, was that part of your original vision for the story? Did you kind of want that to be the public facing aspect, or was that a twist that was added during the creative process?
Uh, I never wanted to shy away from what the story was about.
Okay.
So the fact that you could see that on the cover right off the bat, I thought was great.
Yeah.
I was very happy that Mad Cave wanted to do that, and
Hmm.
it's nothing. I don't think it's too in your face, and I
No.
don't think that it's not um, disgusting or anything like that.
No.
That as some people might, you know, feel when they talk about this stuff. It was subtle enough, but it was there,
Yeah, definitely.
and so I was pleased with it personally.
No, I mean,
I'm not sure.
I was definitely like the great thing about especially that first cover is that you can tell what's going on in my opinion, but at the same time like it like you said it doesn't beat you over the head with it, but every kid has been in that moment, that oh my God moment to an extent, and it really brings you there. On the subject of Miss Claudia, what did she bring to the art that you thought was unique that maybe no other artist could bring? What did you think when you saw her art?
I mean, I loved it. It's always so interesting, and I've talked about this before, how surprising it is to get art from something that you've described in a script.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's just wow, I can't believe they made this look this amazing.
Hmm.
Based of my shoddy description, and it's kind of a high. And
Yeah.
then other times you're married to an image in your head as a writer, and then you get it and you're like, wait, this is not what I was envisioning.
Hmm.
And and so you have to kind of adjust your outlook a bit, and I mean, because it's not wrong,
No.
and it's still conveying the mood of that scene, maybe just in a different way. And
Right.
so there are always so many mixed emotions and reactions, I think, as a writer, when you get that art.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, so what has the reader response been like? I mean, I'm fascinated by what people's reactions are to this story. I mean, Lord knows you venture into internet comment sections at your own risk, but I mean, what kind of feedback have you gotten from readers, male, female? I mean, what are you hearing?
Uh, well, male readers, you should ask yourself, because you might be the only one. No, I'm joking. I don't.
Really?
I don't know. You have been very vocal about being so interested in it and impressed by it, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you for that.
No.
And I have heard from I have heard from a handful of male readers who loved it, and I'm talking about people I don't know who just reached out and
Right.
said, "Hey, this is great," which is always great to hear. And I don't know, by and large, though, what the public has thought of it.
Okay.
I've outside of the rare individuals who reach out, the strangers who reach out and want to talk about it. I really don't know, and I don't venture into the comments on the internet much, because I'm a wimp. I'm a gentle
Oh,
flower.
no. Join the club.
Yeah, and that might be a mistake, because I could maybe learn something from those
Mm.
comments.
You never know.
um,
You never know.
you you never know, and and I'm so sensitive that something would probably get lodged in my brain forever
Oh,
that might inhibit me or something like that. So I don't go there much, but obviously the people I do hear from are pretty positive about it
mhm.
because I don't think I would reach out otherwise.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Well, I mean,
yeah.
let's look at it this way. What are you hoping that male and or female readers in general take away from Flow? I mean, what kind of impression are you hoping to leave on the reader?
Hmm. I just want the reader to have a good ride. I mean, I just want them to enjoy it and to just feel some empathy, to
Mm,
step into the shoes of the characters, whether it's, the Conley, the main bully, the ringleader,
yeah.
um, if they can see it from her perspective, even the
Hmm.
bad guy,
Yeah.
um, I think that's great. Or if it's Dara, the naive young soul who, even later ends up being a bit surprising, um, then that would be great too. But I think just to be entertained and to experience some empathy, those would be my highest hopes for it.
Yeah. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I was so interested in what Dara is like when we actually meet her in the present day. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but I did not expect that. It's kind of a twist at the end there that I commend you for.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad
So,
you were surprised.
so okay, one thing I'm curious about too, you had the opportunity to pitch this story to Mad Cave. What's the reaction like when you pitch it? I mean, are they, you have this element to the story that probably shouldn't be taboo, but I guess kind of is for some people. I mean, what was that feedback like from them initially?
Initially, there was no squeamishness about it. They said we love it, we want to do this, and you know, I was thrilled. I will say later on, after um, some of the issues were written, or
Hmm.
most of the issues were written, and then there was a marketing meeting, and I did have some crazy. Well, I don't know about crazy, but I had ideas about promoting it and maybe things to give away at the signings or events or things like that. And I
Okay,
talked about maxi pads
sure.
and as merch.
Yeah, yeah.
and and I did get a couple of weird looks in that meeting, like kind of. But other than that, no, Mad Cave super supportive.
You know what? I would have gone for it because you know what? Where else are you going to get an opportunity to do something like that in the world of comic books? I mean, there's no way. What other book?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you of one.
Well, there is no other one, I'll tell you. Okay, and you know what, Miss Paula, here's a question that I've been asking a lot of creators lately. If someone comes along who's new to the world of comics in 2026, and we haven't talked about this, but I mean, you wrote for Wizard Magazine, or you worked for Wizard Magazine back in the day. You've been around the world of comics for a while. What's a book or books that you would theoretically recommend somebody new to the world of comics check out? Like, what's a good starter comic?
Hmm. I mean, I don't feel like I'm really a deep expert in comics the way so many of my comics friends and colleagues are. I didn't grow up with them so much, and I came to them later as an adult.
Yeah.
But um, but I mean, I have so many favorites, and I guess it would depend on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but but I mean, I started out reading some great indie comics, like Craig Thompson. Um, I read Alex Robinson. I mean, I just Daniel Klaus. I loved all of the really intimate stories,
Yeah.
and yeah. Um, but then, of course, there are so many, great horror classics, action classics. But if somebody's young and new to comics, or even not young, um, I know Bone is a good one for all ages.
Mm-hmm.
In 20, like currently, I really love and I not just because they're my publisher, but I really love a lot of books that Mad Cave are doing because they're just so varied. I mean, I read one called Orla that was so much fun.
Mhm.
And I know Ignition Press is putting out some really fun books.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, unique ideas. But, and then, there are some graphic novels for kids. I just love how the kids space is exploded
Hmm.
with graphic novels. And I would have loved a lot of these books when I was young. I mean, I really was into Judy Blume, and which Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. There's a little influence of that in Flow, but now there are not just the fantastical, the myth based books for kids that are graphic novels, but also the little intimate stories too. Like, I mean, everyone knows Raina Telgemeier, but I think her name's Jennifer Holm, maybe. It's called the Sunny books, for kids. So I think it's exciting how much there is out there.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I've got two girls, and my daughter, who's in first grade, is starting to dabble a little bit in graphic novels. And she's starting to draw, and it's like getting hopeful. Maybe we've got an artist in the family. I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but no, you're right about the graphic novel space for young people. And Miss Paula, getting back to Flow, I just want to. I said this to you off air, but thank you for putting this book out in the world. I think it's an important book. I think it's an extremely well executed book, and it's a book that more people than they would like to admit need to read. Is there anything that you would like to add, Miss Paula?
Wow. I mean, those are very kind words. Thank you so much. No, I'm grateful that you're interested in it, and I really hope to do something else that you like.
No, hey, you know what? The world needs to hear your voice. I truly, truly believe that. And again, Paula Sevenbergen, the author of Flow, the book comes out March 10th. It's available now. Paula Sevenbergen, ladies and gentlemen.